Signal 2-3. 30 September 2020, and I decided to start with something that Representative Higgins in Congress, people called it a secession speech, I'm not sure, but this is what he has to say, or parts of it. I have descended into the belly of the beast. I have witnessed the terror within, and I rise committed to oppose the insidious forces which threaten our republic. America is being severely injured by this betrayal, by this unjust and weaponized impeachment brought upon us by the same socialists who threaten unborn life in the womb, who threaten First Amendment rights of conservatives, who threaten Second Amendment protections of every American patriot, and who have long ago determined that they would organize and conspire to overthrow President Trump. We don't face this horror because the Democrats have all of a sudden become constitutionalists. We are not being devoured from within because of some surreal assertion of the socialist newfound love for the very flag they trod upon. The impeachment inquiry is a direct result of all the things the Democrats fear, including the true will of the people. They are deep established DC. They call this, he was indicating a national map, they call this Republican map flyover country. They call us deplorables. They fear our faith. They fear our strength. They fear our unity. They fear our vote, and they fear our president. We will never surrender our nation to career establishment DC politicians and bureaucrats. Higgins closed. Our republic shall prevail, this threat from within. American patriots shall prevail. So, from FortObserver.com. Once again, from Fort Observer, I'm grateful that they put out what they do. They are a team of former military analysts, former military intelligence analysts, and I've actually subscribed to their site, to them, in order to get these updates that I have, that I bring forth to you. So what I'm suggesting, what I'm encouraging, is that everybody also subscribe to them, because I'm only giving a portion of what they actually put out every day. With that in mind, from Fort Observer, this is the Low Intensity Conflict Intelligence Summary. Portland insurgency is developing phase 2 characteristics. Recent Fox company reporting indicates that the Portland insurgency is developing what are traditionally considered to be combat support and combat service support roles. During activities overnight, police arrested a street medic who was armed with a handgun and driving a vehicle marked for medical support. Anti-fascists are posting flyers that denounce police as cancer and announce that Antifa will protect you. According to prevailing political theory, the protection and general welfare of the populace is a responsibility of a functioning government. Messaging such as Antifa will protect you is an attempt to undermine local government services, which is a chief task of the insurgency. The replacement of government services with alternatives provided by the insurgents is a common tactic aimed at eventually replacing government altogether. This is textbook insurgent activity. Furthermore, insurgent activities is exhibiting stage 2 characteristics. Portland area insurgents, for instance, are engaged in intelligence-enabled activism. Local anti-fascists on social media are calling for the doxing of individual police officers' home address and assaulting officers seen in town when off duty. The ability to identify and disseminate the location of off-duty police efforts is an indicator of advanced intelligence capabilities, which is one area paying dividends for the Portland area insurgency. Attacks on off-duty police officers would indicate that the insurgency is advancing to the guerrilla warfare phase. Leftist groups note ComSec considerations. According to Fox Company reporting, rioters and activists are being instructed to leave cell phones at home and use radios with coded messages for communication. They recommended using a passcode in lieu of facial recognition or from fingerprint reading to unlock phones if they are brought to protests. The Observer's note. Left-wing activists have always stressed Operation Security, also known as OPSEC. Activists have a history of protecting their identity through the use of masks, umbrellas, and other accessories to hamper what cameras can capture. More recently, anti-fascist activists have attacked members of the media and circulated instructional information to now allow cell phone pictures or videos to capture the faces of activists, since those mediums can be shared with law enforcement. The use of coded messages and radios in lieu of cell phones is an indicator that these groups are also increasing communication security or ComSec efforts. Mapping in use by leftist groups. Leftist intelligence support teams are disseminating maps that identify optimal routes and areas for protesters to avoid being kettled by police. Kettling is a crowd control technique using lines of officers to compress and contain unruly crowds into a small area to facilitate arrests if necessary. A Fox Company report indicates that maps in cities such as Philadelphia and Louisville also mark safe areas to regroup and evade police. The Observer's note. Near real-time mapping is a type of operational support that could be indicative of a move from Phase 1 to Phase 2 insurgency. A move to Phase 2 would almost certainly be indicative of increased violence, including acts of terror and sabotage. While that type of activity may seem far-fetched, a Trump victory in November could be a catalyst for those types of activities, especially given the ample evidence of increasing levels of operational support. Leftist groups plot post-election disruption. Numerous Fox Company sources report on planning by far-left groups to cause severe disruption following a Trump election victory. Hold the Line, a group dedicated to, quote, protecting the election, end quote, published a guide for nationwide nonviolent civil disobedience should President Trump be reelected. Observer's note. Last year, there was an effort targeting U.S. ports for strikes, which would have disrupted imports, exports, and commercial transportation. In weeks past, activists have proposed disrupting major commerce and shipping hubs. Most recently, the Hold the Line guide identifies potential targets for nonviolent action, including businesses, the military, schools, media, bureaucracies, police, and the judicial system. The ultimate goal is to cause disruption to these pillars of the regime / status quo, and to impose costs for individuals in these pillars who act in the defense of a quote-unquote stolen election. Sustained disruption and the imposition of costs, the authors argue, will cause defections and degrade the Trump administration's ability to remain in power. This is the latest indicator of deliberate plans being made to cause severe disruption if President Trump is reelected. That's it for the updates. Now, the upcoming calendar is similar to what it was yesterday. 2 October, rally to keep Dallas safe, Dallas, Texas. 3 October, Unsilent Majority March, Washington, D.C. 3 October, Fists Up, Fight Back, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 3 October, Shut It Down protest, New York City, New York. 3 October, protest against state repression, Atlanta, Georgia. 3 October, Trump Pence Out Now, put on by Antifa, Tulsa, Oklahoma. 3 October, Black Guns Formation, Lafayette, Louisiana. 3 October, End the Police, again Antifa, in Seattle, Washington. 6 October, National Night Out for Safety and Liberation, that's BLM, Minneapolis, Minnesota. 9 October, We Will Not Go Quietly, again BLM, Bedford, Pennsylvania. Lastly, 31 October, The Modern Revolution, Insurgents USA, in Salt Lake City, Utah. That's it for this update. Signal 23 out.